there's a baby here. I don't give a hoot how other people try to disparage your big heart. If you lead with community, then you know you're not going to go wrong with that. I don't give listen. Listen. I stayed in the square, and I didn't go back to work at the end of that school year and didn't go back to work at the beginning of the next. I love my job, and I don't want to dislocate my shoulder, pat myself on the back, but I am damn good at it. But after 22 years at that time, I had a lot of sick leave, so I took it. So I didn't go back in August or September or October or November. And look, and when it ran out, I turned around, and who was marching into GFS? I saw a sea of blue, and it is true. George Floyd Square was being invaded by my very own union members who had my back. They had my back. And they wrote a little grant and paid me my paycheck for the rest of the school year. I never went back to it. And yes, I am an IB English teacher. I teach the history of the English language, Old English, Middle English. You know, I am Beowulf, son of the Edgethole. I killed a race of giants. And then you wonder why a culture feels okay with committing genocide. I teach the whitest shit in the blackest way. But I asked my union, I'm outside doing civil disobedience. What do you want me to do? Exactly what you're doing. I asked my students who were in their senior year, and if anyone teaches an IB, you know what happens during your senior year. And I teach them in the loop. I taught them year one, and I was supposed to teach them year two. You understand what I was going through, right? And they marched in to George Floyd Square and assured me that that too was education. I am not a religious person. And yes, we just celebrated Rosh Hashanah at the square and had honey and apples and honey cake. And it was beautiful. I believe in providence, though. What are the odds that we were fighting Boogaloo Boys in an intersection that was circumscribed by the Center of Trabajadores de Lucha? Well, it's called CETUL, and it was a labor force. It is a labor force for workers, Hispanic mostly. That's right there on 37th in Chicago. And so when hails of bullets are coming in, they gave us shelter year one. There's a center akin to Jobs with Justice right there. So in 2022, an English teacher who had never been a steward, had never even had a student teacher, was asked to go lead the first strike, legal strike in Minneapolis history. they asked me to get out of, and it's an occupation, which means I rarely ever leave the square. Y'all understand? Like, there are porta potties. There are guard shacks. It's an occupation. And in 2022, my then president said, I'm going to be inside in mediation. Can you lead the teachers? And so I said, yeah. Because I realized that I'm in a very racialized and feminized profession. I'm going to just say it plain. I teach with a whole bunch of white women. Mm-hmm. And they've been having game run on them. And if you don't know what that game is, then child, listen. Just like private equity, when they want to take over an industry, the first thing they do is try to kick the foundation and undermine it. So if you want to undermine education, the first thing you do is figure out who's the bulk of that clientele. They've been spending the last 30 years telling white women they ain't shit. They've been telling them, how dare you try to teach minorities? Tell me I'm wrong. You can't. You can't. They've been trying to tell them they're the worst thing that ever happened to education since, well, right? And y'all know teachers are the most self-reflective people on the face of the earth. Some didn't go right. God, let me go back, fix this lesson. Oh, wow, I need to be more responsive. Oh, wow, let me call parents. Oh, God, let me get better relationships. Oh, God, right? But that wears on you year after year after year after year after year after year after year, probably since the late 90s, where they telling you everything that's wrong with the United States. Remember, it used to be, thank you for your service. And now it's like, And so I had to leave there. But Providence and Place, Minneapolis, we had already marched for brown kids in cages. And Minneapolis is where they had already marched for Philando Castile. And they had already marched for George Floyd. And I said, ain't no shame to march for yourself, for better staffing, for kids' mental health, and for your paycheck. That's right. Thank you for your service does not pay my mortgage. It don't pay no bills, not a one. And for paraprofessionals, come on. Come on. And that was the sticky wicket, making sure that the educators, for whatever grievance that we had, that the bulk of our paraprofessionals, although the teachers were this, the EAs, the educational assistants, had it even worse. And I had to do something that was sort of weird, but stick a quarter in me and I could talk. And I had to tell them, if your 35 cents feel a little heavy in your pocket as long as you know Shaniqua getting 15 cents, then you got a problem. I'm going to say it so you understand. Somebody shouldn't have to be on their knees for you to feel tall. Right. Strike and got a historic raise. Hold up. For the ESPs, not for Hold up. Some of my teachers were a little upset. They were like, damn, all we got was 7%. Hold up. Mind you, I've been working at that point for 23 years and was getting raises like 0.5%, 2%, 1%, and you mad at that? But we worked so hard. And at that point, I was like, and I've been black for 48 years. Number two, it ain't your first strike that gets you what you want. Hold up. So 2 years later, 2 years later, I got really popular on TikTok. And I did a little TikTok, and I asked if they wanted vice president, and they voted for me. And we had a strike threat. We didn't even have to go on strike. And did we win what we wanted? Yes, we did. And we got a I'll just say this, I got a $10,000 raise. And that's, as my niece says, still not enough. Still not enough. It's still not enough. It's still not enough. Because there's still a disparity. We're called the Twin Cities. There's a place across the river, and they make more money than us. If I were to leave, I would still literally make $13,000 more. Because again, that's how they play. Capitalism doesn't work unless there's disparity.
Yeah.
Right? So whenever you either begrudge or are happy about the disparity, depending on where you are, you should not be. You should not be. Whether you come in on the good part or the bad part, you shouldn't be. Because it doesn't work without disparity. Right. Let me talk to you, though, about the last year. And this year is a little different because I am now the president of my union. And that's a little weird, and I'm going to tell you why. Because quiet as it's kept, and it ain't quiet. I am still occupying 38th and Chicago, the site of the lynching of George Floyd Square, where we stand in civil disobedience, occupying 5 city blocks in furtherance of the 24 demands of Justice Resolution 001. We say no justice, no streets. We have not moved. We have commandeered the spot across from the death site. It was a speedway. It's heretofore known as the People's Way. It is where I sit every single day. If they want it back, they'll have to do it over my dead body, and I am still here breathing, so therefore they do not have it back. That's right. We still have those streets. They asked us, why do we still stand? We say for justice. They fucked up and said, what does justice look like? And we gave them those demands. And then, because at the time it was 2020, they started answering the demands. And once they got into negotiation, they must continue to stay in negotiation. Hold up. Don't get it twisted, because no matter how blue a person's political designation is, once the new regime came in on the East Coast, the folks in the blue decided, wow, I could use that as a cover to do what I always wanted to do. And we said, I wish you would. And then on June 3rd of 2025, although this city, Minneapolis, was not supposed to coordinate with ICE, the eye of Sauron turned toward the city of Minneapolis. June 3rd is the historic day that the barricades were forcibly lifted from George Floyd Square, where one of my former students was killed, that we all believe as a distraction in Uptown, which caused many leftists to go to another part of the city, I'm assuming to distract us, to sort of lure us out. but we're more strategic. People were able to occupy over there while still holding our stronghold at GFS. So 3 years to the day, ICE shows up on Lake Street. I'll disclose, I have had a stroke. I've gone from CrossFit, like cop diesel, to a stroke of indeterminate origin. And the doctors are like, have you been stressed out? No shit. And so when that happened, my union staff were like, Marcia, you stay, we'll go. So I did not go to Lake Street. I knew GFS was going. I was in my union hall on 6th Street, right? And one of my comrades was arrested, slammed to the ground, misgendered across national media. They're trans. She only had a phone and the 24 demands in her pocket, right? Ding dong. I'm in my office, and though you don't see it now, I typically don't go anywhere without a body cam, which is why I can go on TikTok a lot, because I have a lot of footage. The police showed up at my union hall during the raid. See, don't get it twisted. When we're talking about May Day, when we're talking about our labor movement, all of you will be subject to the eye of Sauron. They want leaders. They came up with an excuse for why they were at my union hall on the day of the ICE raid. But I fully suspect it was because they thought my black ass was going to be at Lake Street. And they did not get me. And I put it on TikTok where she walked in, had her hand covered the badge. You can go on Marcia Howard, 38th Street, spell it like Marcia Brady. And she had her hand covered the badge. And you see me, as soon as I see her, take her and walk her right on out of my union, right? Because fuck 12. And then I go to sleep that night and wake up, and I hear that they got David Wirt in LA. So I sensed the pattern. They were going after trans folk, black and brown folk, and union leaders. Mm-hmm. So I will say, when it's time to be on front lines, know who they are targeting. They should be in the rear, and you know who should be in the front. Mm-hmm. I've said this, they follow this, they practice this in DC. If anybody's aware of how it went down in DC, they did what they needed to do in DC to the consternation of the powers that be. We have to thwart them. Sometimes, you can tell that I'm a marksman because I'm always testing the winds and seeing which way they blow. So let's talk about May Day. Our past May Day, we made that about immigration. All right? Within a month, we had an ICE raid. Even though we had a huge, powerful, multi-union, multi-community march on to our state capitol. The other SPFE, that's the St. Paul Federation of Educators, MFE, AFSCME, CWA, all the major unions, all work in coalition together to get MIRAC, which is an immigrant defense resource hub. So we had a huge rally. And then all of a sudden, we felt it, that heat from, I keep saying the Eye of Sauron, I'm a dork. So if you know what I'm talking about, right? But we've done something better for MFT. If you're not aware of what our dear leader has said about our H-1B visa holders, so I tripped and dropped my happy ass 2 days ago and paid a lawyer to protect our documented workers, not just the lawyer that we have at the union hall for what happens in school. But if you're on an H-1B visa and you brought your spouse and you brought your kids, the spouse can't work, and the kids are on their own visa to go to school. Y'all know that, right? And they go to soccer class, and they go to church, and they go to the grocery store. So I got thousands of dollars in a grant, and I went and paid the most badass, kick-ass law firm that is used to doing civil rights / criminal / immigration law, and put a retainer down and said, I'm giving that to all our relatives and homies in our union. So they can call y'all, and they ain't got to do, hey, whenever, whatever, we got y'all on retainer, so they got a lawyer. Don't say shit, talk to my lawyer. So that's what we're doing in extension of our union lawyer. We're giving them their own law firm on retainer. This is above and beyond. Who keeps us safe?
We do.
We keep us safe. Who keeps us safe?
We keep us safe.
We keep us safe. You have to be in community and as neighborly as possible, not just with your immigrant neighbors, but with your unhoused neighbors as well. What the powers that be are about to do, and I'm a hush in a minute, what the powers that be are about to do is basically what has already started to happen. And I'm just going to drop this in your ear right now. The easiest way to undermine well-raised people, open-minded, open-hearted people, is to take everything you value and shove it down your fucking throat. You enjoy freedom of speech? Let's take that, corrupt it, and just keep shoving it down your throat, where you're getting basically a drink from a water hose. Anybody's speech, everybody's speech, all the speech that you can handle, right? From that device, for the most part. Let's see how you like them apples. You're compassionate to your unhoused neighbors. Before I got on my flight, I did one more whip around the square, and I saw 3 people with armbands on. My city literally drops people off at the square to be a problem, but we don't see people as problems. But they want us to view people as problems. I can pull a Narcan out at what? Stop playing with us. Stop playing with us. Stop playing with us. Everybody is somebody. Stop playing with us. We have to countervail what they are attempting to do with us as a nation and as neighbors. That is why we meet at GFS every morning at 8 a.m. and every night at 7 p.m. Every single day since May 25, 2020. Even as president, I let them know, don't schedule me for shit.